Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 5th annual CORNY Awards presented by Big Red Homestead. Today, Josh and Kayla will be ranking all Nebraska football players from best to worst. And the question on everyone's minds is who will go down in history for better or for worse. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, the CORNY Awards. Welcome everybody to the Cornies. I'm Josh, that's Caleb, and today we have a lot to talk about. This is now the 5th annual CORNY Awards. We're going to be going player by player, ranking them all based off of last season, talking about their futures, and we also are going to be tagging the players who are not returning this upcoming season, so we'll have a conversation about filling in the gaps at the end as well. So there's going to be a lot to go over. Caleb, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great at the 5th annual CORNY Awards, where there's only 2 awards, but everybody gets a rank and prize.
Yes.
And so it's very exciting.
Way better.
We get to go through. Yeah, you get to really know why you lost or won the awards. We get to look back after the chaos of Dylan Rhule, the new coaching changes. And now the offseason gives us time to reflect.
It does.
How really did we do last season?
And now we can take a stroll down memory lane
of them all.
To the corniest of them all, the CORNY Hall of Fame, and the greatest players in Husker history. And let me tell you, there's some great ones. Obviously, last year, Trey Palmer, Garrett Nelson, but year before, Austin Allen and JoJo Doman. And then we had the first 2 years of the Cornies were actually back-to-back recipient awards, which may never happen again in the history of the Cornies. Who knows?
Yeah.
And that's Wandale Robinson and Cam Taylor Britt. So who will join the greatest ranks of Husker history today? That's what we will decide right now. We have the 5 categories like normal: farm fresh, movie theater, unsalted popcorn, canned corn, and the dreaded Iowa corn. Oh, you don't want to end up there, folks.
You do not.
Today, we're going to be going in order of snap count, which is a fun way to do it, I think. Starting with 60 snaps as the barrier on offense. So we're starting on the offensive side, and that means we are starting with none other than Rahmir Johnson, of course, whose season was cut extremely short because of the injury, getting injured in the second game of the year, against Colorado, which was devastating. So we don't have a lot to go off of here, but thoughts on Rahmir Johnson and maybe what he could bring next season as well.
Yeah, he had kind of worked his way out of the doghouse, and he had looked pretty good again as one of the backs. And man, we could have used him as the season went on,
right,
just with the absolute attrition, all that we lost. Obviously, him getting hurt doesn't feel like it helps him in his category, and so I'm not feeling like he's.
He had 66 rushing yards against Colorado with that 44-yard long. So I think at that point you can't put him in canned. So I think that's a pretty straightforward unsalted for me.
He'll be on the low side of unsalted, in my opinion, because there will be many other players, I think, that will be more of a contributor. But yes.
Next up is Joshua Fleeks. And he is, of course, one of the players who is not returning. Thoughts on Joshua?
Yeah, he had some really high PFF grades for the few snaps that he did play.
Well, dude, that took it to the house on the few carries he had. And so,
yeah,
it's hard to say with a guy like this because at the end of the day, he had moments that were great and hugely impactful, changed games. But at the end of the day, he's not good enough to be in movie theater. I think you have to put him in unsalted.
Yep.
Will he be a guy that's missed next season?
He definitely showed some flash. I think our running back room is still pretty big, and obviously we got the transfers. So hopefully not. Hopefully he's not missed whatsoever, but I think he could be a good player. And that moves us on to Jaden Doss.
Yeah, interesting.
It is. He, again, not a lot of playing time. As a wide receiver, you would have liked to see some more, especially because the wide receiver room was so barren this season. So I would definitely put him in canned.
Yeah, but he's canned with a lot of optimism to the future. Obviously, we saw him.
I think so.
As a true freshman, the bar is low. And so when you go out there and you play, how many snaps did he have? He had 79 snaps. That's not bad in 4 games. So he had the redshirt freshman experience in Illinois, Northwestern, Purdue, Michigan State. Did he show anything that was that promising? Probably not.
No.
But there were a few plays where he was obviously a physical player and he's willing to go up and try to get the ball. So, I respect that. And I'm excited to see if he can develop. I think it's at least possible.
I agree. And then this one is the saddest one, who was,
oh my gosh,
after a couple games,
dude,
looking like he was going to win the Corny Award for the season. Gabe Irving. Oh man, him getting hurt again was just a gut punch to my soul.
And not only that, but like he was having such a good game in that Northern Illinois game.
Oh, I know.
And then he got hurt at the end. Like it was like the hip thing. And you're like, oh, he's fine. I mean, just a little hip thing. And it was like out for the season.
Yeah.
What?
Right at the end of the game too.
Dude.
Yeah, that was blindsided.
Yeah.
That makes me sad. I was excited how well he had performed post injury. So I definitely think that would make it movie theater for when he was back.
I agree. I mean, and even in the Northern Illinois game, he had a few catches as well for 20 yards receiving. He had 20 yards receiving in that game and 67 yards rushing in that game, and just looked really good. And then even in the Colorado game, he was impactful. It's like, oh man, like, it just
needed a target.
Obviously, as the season went along, you're like, dude, we needed him so bad. We talked about this a little bit in the last video, but I mean, do you think, another injury like this, it's hard to imagine, like that he's going to be great still, but at the same time, it's possible.
Yeah, it's a hope. I mean, you think of like Mo Ibrahim, who saw a really successful season after a really bad injury. So hopefully that can be the case. But
yeah, and that was an Achilles too, and this is not as bad as an Achilles. Obviously, Gabe's injury after the previous year was a much worse injury. So that's what's strange.
I think he can still be good. I just hope he can stay healthy.
Yeah, right. I agree. So Ty Hahn's up next. Mr. Reliable, Ty Hahn. Always there. 98 snaps played. I mean, I don't know. Like, he's probably canned. You could probably argue he's unsalted. I mean,
no.
How many catches did he end up with in this season? It can't be a ton. Yeah, he had 4 receptions in this on the season in 96 snaps. So
yeah, it's not good at all.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
You could argue Iowa corn. You really could. He's flirting with it, in my opinion. He's flirting with the Iowa corn.
But did he do anything that was detrimental though? Like he didn't. He was on the field when he played. He
didn't play good. He didn't help us any. He was just kind of there.
His PFF grade was fine, wasn't it?
64.
60, okay. Yeah, that's fine. 98 snaps, that's fine. Like, he didn't hurt the team, I think, when he was on the field. That's what I'm trying to say. When you're in Iowa corn, it's because when you played, you basically made the team worse. Like, it's addition by subtraction with Iowa corn guys. So he wasn't that. So now, next up is another interesting player, Janiran Bonner.
Yeah, he was good at blocking, so that was nice.
Do you see any potential for him in the future? Like, I think he's a pretty clear canned corn here. I wouldn't say he was good. And he even got replaced halfway through the year.
I was hoping when they were hyping him up as like a hybrid player of like he can play fullback, he can play, I thought we were going to see a little bit more sizzle.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and that really wasn't the case. I mean, he can block, so it's not like he wasn't, useful somewhere, but he wasn't. You would hope he would have fit the offense and done a little bit more to move the ball. And that didn't really happen for Bonners.
So now one of the most fun players on the team here, Jalen Lloyd, is up next. This is interesting. I mean, he was maybe the most impactful player on the offense season long when it came to scoring touchdowns on his few catches that he actually ended up having. So, I mean, he had 6 receptions for 237 yards, 39.5 yard average with 3 touchdowns. That is unbelievable. We will never see that again in Nebraska football.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, he had like more yards per catch than, Marvin Harrison,
Half of his touchdowns or half of his catches were touchdowns. And they were all 50-yarders. Like, that is crazy. So
that's the obvious thing is you want to see more than 6 catches from a guy who was
But that was just the offense at the end of the day, and they were drawing it up for him, and that's kind of how we've seen Matt Rhule want to play. He has specific packages, he has ideas, and that's what Satterfield wanted as well. So, I mean, we saw exactly what we wanted to see from a true freshman like that. The absolute boom plays, the huge touchdowns. These are the types of seasons that the best players in the country have early on. There's these like flashes, they show it a little bit.
So I'm excited. I think he showed more than Malachi Coleman to me, in my opinion. Not to anything, but I just thought that his speed is impressive.
Yeah, Malachi played almost 3 times the amount of snaps. But I mean, Lloyd obviously popped more on the tape.
I'm very excited for him in the future. He has to be above canned because, again, he made such an impact where I'd put him in
to me, honestly, though, with how...
just our
can we
offense,
grade on a curve? Let's grade on a curve, right? Our offense was so bad. I mean, we were talking about this before. I'm like, I don't know if we're gonna have anybody in Farm Fresh in this, and it's gonna be hard to get into Farm Fresh with this offense. To me, I mean, considering everything, even though he only had 6 receptions, they were the most impactful plays of the season.
Oh, they were so fun. Yes, I mean, I can't
movie
disagree.
theater, man. Movie theater.
All right, fair enough.
Uh-oh.
Guys, the Corny Award winner for offense 2024 is none other than Jeff Sims. Come on down.
Sims. Well, there's no discussion needed.
To be honest, I actually think there might be a discussion that has to be had. Do we make a new category?
Oh, the Jeff Sims category?
He might need a new category. I have never seen, and I will never see another player that looks... I mean, he was Benedict Arnold out there.
Yeah, like you said. I mean, like I said, it's definition of addition by subtraction.
I think you can't just put him in high court. I mean, you need to put him just a little bit below, in my opinion.
Yeah,
when
like
he came
you just kind of put him like halfway. He hides a little bit, just his eyes. Oh my gosh,
that's
dude.
the worst Husker player I've ever seen ever.
I mean, he was the most detrimental Husker player to ever touch the football, right? At least in the last 15 years.
We saw it. We were there at Minnesota for the whole show. And we saw the great weird touchdown that we had before half, and then just turnover. And then he gets brought in for a game, right? Heinrich gets hurt, and then Jeff Sims comes in. And then it's instant disaster. The ball gets fumbled again on the snap.
Incredible. I mean, he was a magician. The worst
ball
position.
Disappeared.
Yeah. He made the ball disappear. Oh man, yeah.
You feel bad. I mean, it was all mental at some point. Just.
I mean, because again, we were so excited. I was so excited about him. I mean. We saw that improvement, and we could talk about this forever. We talked about it a long time, but there was so much potential there, and he had not just a bad season, worse than anything he had at Georgia Tech. I mean, it was multiple times worse than anything he had at Georgia Tech. You could just
play the laugh track every time he stepped on the field. Yeah. It was
it was unreal. But the show must go on. So next, another interesting player, Chubba Purdy. Where do you put Chubba Purdy?
A guy whose brother's in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And he was unable as starting QB to win a game for us.
Yeah.
So it's a canned corn situation for me.
Agreed. Were there flashes of better?
Oh, yeah. 100%. I'm excited for him in his future. I hope that he does well.
The Wisconsin game? I mean, that was, you're like, okay. Like, that's not bad.
That big touchdown run, you're like,
Maryland at the end?
Yeah.
There wasn't enough.
Get done.
You could argue. I could see someone putting him in unsalted. I'd be like, yeah, it's fine. But at the end of the day,
didn't get a win.
So Luke Lindenmeyer is up next. There's not much to say here. Like, I would say he was good. He was fine. And he did his job. He blocked well. And he was an efficient blocker. That's all he was asked to do. So, unsalted. Marcus Washington.
Just another heartbreak. Just ripped my heart out. Another guy who he was so needed on this team. He was by far our best wide receiver. Once push came to shove and the season started, he was the far and away best option we had, and we needed him the whole season.
And the fact that he gets hurt after the insane play, he had that huge. It was like a 50-yard catch.
Yeah,
and then he gets hurt. Yeah, he had a 92 grade
so early in the game
in that Illinois game because he only played 2 snaps.
Yeah.
Dude, it's brutal. It's brutal. I mean, was he great this season, though? No.
No, I mean, he's just a solid starter. I mean, he's an unsalted.
He's unsalted.
Player.
Yeah.
He's unsalted. But that, in comparison to everything else we had at wide receiver, especially in the consistency status, like he was so needed for our team. I mean,
right. I mean, if he would have played the entire season,
was hammered.
He probably would have been movie theater, maybe, but. I don't know.
If we grade on the curve like we did with Jalen Lloyd, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, but Lloyd made way more impactful plays even honestly in total than Marcus Washington did. Because how many catches did Marcus Washington end up with? 8. Only with 8.
I guess
or two more than Lloyd. So it's like at that point, Lloyd had more yards. Lloyd had more touchdowns. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what stat would you grade there? They're in the same category. Just consistency, I guess, snap by snap. But.
Yeah, I mean, Washington looked open a lot.
True. That's fair.
I think he had a bigger grouping of route tree that he could run. He had a lot more.
Yeah, he's
routes.
a more diverse player for sure. More, well-rounded.
Just closer to the sticks.
I could see it, but I'm fine with unsalted. So Henry Lutovsky's up next. I mean, that's a pretty straight up canned corn right there, folks.
Ooh,
it was bad when he was out there. 239 snaps. I mean, if you just looked at his PFF grades, a 49 offensive overall, 41 pass block, 48 run block, and that was lined up on the tape. Go back and watch Henry Lutovsky. It was bad.
It was bad. I don't know. I'm an Iowa corn kind of guy for Henry Lutovsky. It was just not good.
Sorry, that's what I meant. I have him in Iowa corn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
My bad.
That's an Iowa corn there.
100%.
It was disappointing when he came on. When you're worried with our not great offensive line anyway, and you're like, oh no, Henry Lutovsky came on.
Yeah.
That's not good. Yeah. That's not good.
No. AG.
Oh man.
Up next, Anthony Grant. And I mean, again, so he ended up being like the consistent guy, but at the end of the day, those fumbles were just brutal.
Yeah.
So where do you rank someone like that? Yeah.
I think unsalted, like he was.
His highs were movie theater. His highs were great.
It's just a disappointment of the truth of the matter was when we played bad teams, he looked good. When we played good teams, he looked bad.
And he fumbled.
And
made us worse.
He fumbled. Yeah.
Like, I mean, there were points in the season where we said we do not want to see him on the field. Like, if he is on the field, we're pissed. So you can't put a guy like that in movie theater.
Once the other guys kind of started to break out, it's like definitely like, please put anybody but AG. And yeah, the fumbles just it murdered us in the same way that it was with Jeff Sims.
Oh man, it's almost making me want to put him in canned corn.
Yeah, but I'm kind of feeling the canned corn at this point. I think you've talked me into it.
Because it really comes down to the fact that when he played, he made us worse at times. Like the first half of the year, he was pretty good. And he ended up with a decent amount of yards on the season. 413, averaging about 4 yards per carry. So that is worse than Emmett, Gabe, or Ramir. So I don't know. To me, we've kind of talked ourselves into canned. I think people are gonna be really surprised by that because when he touches the ball, he looks flashy and because he runs aggressively and he lowers his shoulder and he's physical. And he had over 100 carries on the year. But like you said, at one point we were saying we shouldn't see him on the field. Yeah, so that's a nail in the coffin. Nate Borkacher, I mean, unsalted, right? He did his job.
I was a little disappointed at times in his blocking ability. I think I was hoping for a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. But like I said, I feel like for canned they were bad, very much underperformed expectation, and at times hurt you. Unsalted was like, he was forgettable.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Forgettable.
Right.
Oh man, Emmett Johnson.
Oh baby. Emmett Johnson's up next. Okay, so now, this is a conversation here. Emmett Johnson.
It is.
And then maybe we'll have to hop ahead here and talk about maybe someone else as well. This is a potential corny for me. Emmett Johnson was impact player. He was on the field. He broke out. He looked good. Every time he touched the ball, you're like, yes. And he was a guy that you wanted to touch the ball. You wanted to see the ball in his hands. And I think for me, that's the definition of a farm fresh or at least a corny. But honestly, though, is this the first time ever? Could this be the first time ever where a corny might not be a movie theater or might not be a farm fresh player?
I mean, we're getting up. I mean,
are we going to have a farm fresh player?
I don't even think so. No.
Because, I mean, who else? If you're looking at the list, we might not, dude.
I don't think we are.
So I guess the question is Emmett Johnson a farm fresh player? Which I don't think he is.
What was his total yards at the end?
He ended up with 411 yards rushing, 90 carries, 4.6 per carry, 2 touchdowns, and he had 7 receptions for 46 yards. I mean, when it comes to production, that's not a farm fresh player production-wise.
No, I'd keep him in the movie theater.
But he was good in obviously movie theater. Okay, then the question is are we going to have anybody else?
I say let's finish out the list and then we can talk about who's in the movie theater.
All right, and then see if anybody else.
The corny from there.
All right, yeah. This is a first for the corny awards. True delay. So then next we got Justin Evans Jenkins came in and filled in after all the injuries up front with Newely and with Ethan Piper getting hurt and everyone going down at times, and he was solid.
Yeah,
I mean,
really good at pass block.
Truly an unsalted popcorn player. He had his moments where he was good, and I agree.
I think he can move to movie theater, as we just really gotta the run block just in general. I mean, I know we ran a bunch, so that can hurt our stats a little bit, but also our run block needs to be a lot better for next season. And Justin Evans Jenkins falls into the full group of that.
Agreed.
But he was a good pass blocker.
Lead the way on the next one, baby. This is your guy.
Yeah, very exciting. Malachi Coleman. Again, he had the frame to absolutely make an impact year one.
And he had the opportunity.
And he did at times. I mean, another bomb touchdown from him. He had the first one. I was hoping for more, though, especially for having 335 total snaps. Both him and Lloyd, honestly, in the mid-range had too many drops in general. I wouldn't. Is he movie theater? Is he unsalted?
To me, he's definitely unsalted. I mean, there's potential here, obviously. He's got the build, and he's obviously a really physical player. And maybe you could all argue his best attribute was his run blocking downfield. He looked great in the blocking game. So,
and also like he had tough assignments on him the whole season.
I mean, that's also true.
As being one of probably our more dangerous players, and honestly, he got held often. I mean, you watch it back in the film.
He did draw quite a few penalties.
Yeah, he got a lot of flags for us. So I really think, just imagine he gets more physical and those guys, they can't do anything. I'm looking forward to Malachi Coleman as it continues.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was thrown into the absolute ringer with
no doubt about it.
And also our quarterbacks just, for all of our wide receivers, it's tough getting them the ball.
Yeah, exactly. So I agree. He's going to be a beast in the future, though, no doubt. So up next, Billy Kemp. Oh, man, this is tough.
The injuries, man.
The injuries, the impact. I mean, you have to say he was our best receiver on the season, but that's not saying much for this offense. I mean,
I'd put him in unsalted.
The question will be, is Jalen Lloyd versus Billy Kemp, right?
Billy Kemp, again, best abilities, availability. And, when you look at some of our other guys that were able to at least be on the field, Kemp, when we look at, we've had other wide receiver transfers make much more of an impact than Billy as well. We thought that he was exactly what this team needed, a sure-handed guy in the small catching, and he just wasn't there that often. You think of the big plays that he made, and they don't stand out to you like some of these other guys do. I don't think both of us would agree that we didn't utilize him efficiently. And there were very few games where we felt like we truly had a game plan that was good for Billy. But at the same time, he was also hurt, and that was just a tough season. I would agree. Unsalted is probably where you got to put him. There's just not much to write home about with Billy after this season. And his best wasn't even that impactful, even in the games where he had his best moments. So, no,
I would agree. Even though he ended up being our leading receiver on the year with 310 yards and 35 receptions, he only averaged 8.9 per catch and 1 touchdown. So, yeah, pretty forgettable overall. So up next, Teddy Prohaska. Interesting. It was better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, he was hurt, last year, and it was like, what is he going to be for us this year? I thought he had a solid performance. I would put him in the unsalted. Our offensive line as a whole played better than I thought it was going to be. So yeah, him, I would move there. And then Ethan Piper, the next guy. Before, again, another injury, he looked pretty good,
and he was getting
in the
better.
Run block.
Yeah.
The run block was especially missed when he got hurt. I thought that he was progressing in that area and then was looking the most physical in that category as the season came along. I would also put him in unsalted. I think that's a fair. Again,
it's getting crowded. More than likely, I agree. Oh boy.
Ooh.
Turner Corcoran.
Now here's a guy who is for sure canned corner worse.
Yeah. So, I mean, he has, he's been a perennial Iowa corn guy, but could he have arisen from Iowa corn to canned corn?
He had some actually okay games. Obviously, the pass block is still at a 30.37.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think he's still in canned. I mean, I think he's still in Iowa. Like,
I think so too, but I think it's with like a star or like a heart,
He's a little up arrow. Like maybe next year he could be canned.
Yeah, he's trending on the up. Ooh.
Heinrich
Here's
Harburg.
A fun one.
I have no idea where to put Heinrich Harburg.
Dude, he's an enigma for sure. He's above
a few
canned,
games were movie theater, a few games were unsalted, and a few games were canned.
A few games were Iowa.
And a few games were Iowa. I mean,
I'm going to put him.
More than likely, you probably have to put him in unsalted. Because he's not consistent enough to be in movie theater. There's no way.
None of those players are. I don't know. On the curve, I'm putting Heinrich Harburg in movie theater.
Really?
The man won 5 games for us at the helm. I mean, he was put in a horrible situation. This was a dude that was never supposed to see the field.
Yeah, but that's a full blow. That's the curve of curves.
I mean, he's at the least unsalted.
The dude turned the ball over like crazy.
It's true. I mean, yeah, it's not great. Fine, unsalted it is.
I mean, I think you got to put him in unsalted when you put it in any sort of context of the history of this list. He is so far from movie theater compared to most other players. And then Thomas Fidone. We're getting really crowded here in the unsalted category for a reason, because that's our offense was unsalted in general.
Unsalted. Yeah, or worse. Yeah. He was disappointing to me, to be honest, through the year. I thought I wanted a little bit more from him. He was definitely better when Heinrich was in the game. But I think on the run block, like
him and Heinrich had a nice connection.
Yeah.
I think based off of their connection alone, you probably have to put him in unsalted, because he did do his thing in the passing game. He was our second leading receiver, 25 receptions, 260 yards, 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns.
Got out.
So, and you'll think back at the impact that he had in some of those games, like inevitably, like that's where you have to look. So to me, unsalted makes sense with potential in the future. I mean, moving forward, he's a guy, I mean, I think both of us have circled as he better be in movie theater next year. We need him to be, and he has everything to be a really, really great player for Nebraska.
I mean, he did make some great catches. He had a little too many drops. I think that's when I look it back.
Yep.
He did have some untimely drops where it's like he should catch those.
And like you said, the blocking game was really surprising. He was a horrible pass blocker every time he was brought in.
He did not seal an edge.
Which is surprising.
And that's why he didn't, I mean, he had a lot of snaps.
Yeah, to me alone, that's why you couldn't put him in movie theater.
I'm glad he was healthy.
Up next, Norrie Nuili. I mean,
join the group of unsalted. This
is there. I know it's getting really crowded. He was disappointing, I think, a little bit. I could see an argument for higher, but
in comparison to like what he had been, obviously he's come back off the suspension. I was hoping that he would be a movie theater guy and be our best offensive lineman. I think we kind of both project him there. That just wasn't what happened.
No. And then there was Alex Bullock. Oh my word. I mean, definition of unsalted.
Iowa.
What?
Iowa corner.
Iowa?
No. He had 600 snaps. How many catches did he have in 600 snaps?
That is true. He had 15 and 221 yards. The thing is like, did he hurt the team when he was out there though?
No.
Like canned corn, I could argue just because like he was just so like unimportant. That's why I think you just put him on unsalted. Ben Scott.
Yeah, Ben Scott.
Honestly,
unsalted.
He's either unsalted. He could eke himself into movie theater because he was super consistent, and maybe that alone could put him in movie theater.
All right, I'm in. He really was. He was a Band-Aid that was desperately needed for our team.
Yeah, I agree.
And he played.
Let's highlight the consistency,
743.
Right? Yeah, he was always there, and he really had very few horrible games where you're like, what the hell? Like, it was more like, okay, decent, solid. And like, rarely did you look at him and be like, this was a great game. This is dominant, but he's just super reliable. And I think that alone for this offense is movie theater worthy. And this is a miracle. Bryce Benhart, our last player here, played the most snaps on the offensive side, and I think you've got to put him in movie theater on this offense.
We have to put him in movie theater. I think he was probably just
definitely
crazy.
most consistent run blocker. You could maybe for sure say run blocker.
Yeah, I don't think you can say pass.
He had good moments though.
But
this season wasn't bad. It was just the quarterbacks just made it terrible. So
I mean, this dude, the highest riser for sure. He's a phoenix out of the ashes of Iowa corn all the way to movie theater.
Exactly.
What a guy. That's exciting.
So
I guess with
that said, it's pretty obvious at this point that Emmett Johnson is the winner of the Corny this time around 2023. A surprise to be sure. I did not have that one on my books going into the season, but here we are. No. And I could not be more excited for what he could bring to this offense moving forward. He's obviously got all the tools. He runs like an elite Big Ten running back. His fluidity, his balance, and his agility, his quickness, and he has really nice vision. So I'm excited to see how much he improves this offseason, and I think he's going to be an absolute stud. But he is definitely the most underwhelming of offensive winners by far.
Comparing, Allen, who was the Big Ten tight end of the year, and obviously Trey Palmer, who
Wandale.
had an incredible season. Yeah, Wandale. Those are some incredible names to be put up with. But that was our offense. That was the story of our offense this season is where was the NFL guys? And they're all young. That's the problem. We're too young. And
there it is, the offensive side for the Cornies. And it was a tough one, to say the least. No one in Farm Fresh. Hopefully will never happen again. So on the defensive side, off the rip here, we got Riley Van Poppel. Our cutoff here is 100 snaps. He played 113. When he saw the field, I would say he was bad. Like, in my opinion, he's a canned corn type of guy. He just wasn't very efficient. We saw the younger guys even be more efficient when they were on the field. And where did he really make a huge impact?
He had a couple good tackles, but that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it was like he was underwhelming and underperformed, but he's so young that it's fine. He's going to be great in the future, but this season he was definitely not ideal, which is why he didn't see a lot of time on the field. And I assume we'll see a lot more of him in the future, and he'll be a lot better in the future as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be tough sledding to get playing time, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. It is stacked, no doubt. So next up is Taman Lyman. He played 117 snaps, and when he did play, he was decent. He was solid as a solid replacement. But he is not returning. He is transferring out. So I don't know. To me, he's the definition of unsalted.
Yeah, I'm sad he's transferring, honestly. He did show some good stuff, but that's just how it goes.
Yeah,
at times.
The DB room's just pretty young. And so I would assume he was like, it's going to be a battle for playing time.
Oh,
Chief Borders is on the board next. From the expectation coming in, it was extremely underwhelming. Did he hurt the defense though? Was he like, how did you interpret his season?
He was fine. Again, it's either unsalted or canned. Again, he just really, he didn't see the field nearly as much as the other guys because he wasn't as good.
I agree. Honestly, I'd probably go canned.
I think that's where I would want to put him.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Here's an exciting one.
Oh, Marquez Buford. Obviously, with Buford, it was a short season, and that's why he's down here. Yes. Only 151 snaps played because of the injury. He came in late, and only ended up playing in 4 games: Michigan State, Maryland, Wisconsin, and Iowa. Those Maryland, Wisconsin games, though, nice. The question is what do you expect from him moving forward, and what are your thoughts on this season?
Obviously, he played great. Instant boost on our defense. The tackling instantly improved was when he was out there. He's such a difference maker. Him being back will be very exciting for the defense. He's just such a safety net really for us. I'm excited for him next season as he gets healthy. You could really tell that when he came back, it was a much needed energy boost for our defense.
He's so physical, man. If you graded him off of the previous season, that's what's tough. It's like he only played in 4 games. Like 2 years ago, he was movie theater. And like, did anything change from that? Not really. He still looked really good, but we only saw him in like 3.5 games, essentially. You could almost just argue 2. So it's hard to say. I feel like if we're giving him a movie theater, it's because we're giving him that off of the previous season. But in the 2 games he did play in that, like he fully played in, he was really good. So I have no problem with it either way.
Yeah, I'll keep him there then because I feel like that's just,
Okay, let's do it. So then up next is Elijah Judy, another transfer who comes in and overall underwhelming.
Yeah.
Again, the scale is a little bit different here, I think, on the defensive side than the offensive side because on the offensive side, no one was in farm fresh, where defensive side, we're obviously going to have a handful in farm fresh. So to me, Judy is probably canned corn. Like when he was on the field, I never felt like he was making an impact. And overall, you wish some of the other guys were on the field. You
felt like when you heard his name or noticed him, it's when it was a bad play instead of a good play. Yep. So I definitely agree, canned corn. And honestly, I feel the same with our next guy, Blaise Gunderson, as well.
Yeah.
Just kind of a similar thing. And even,
honestly, though, I'll be honest.
Blaise Gunderson.
He might be Iowa corn.
I'm fine with that, too. I mean, he just wasn't good.
Like when you compare him, especially when you compare him to the other pass rushers that were there, it was like, why is Gunderson on the field? I mean, even like James Williams, the edge rusher who came in at the end of the year, and we had those packages with him. He was way better.
Yeah.
Way better.
Yeah.
To me, it was just like Gunderson was always just extremely disappointing and underwhelming. And especially for how long he was there too. So he's gone as well. So this is an interesting one. Mekhi Byor, at the beginning of the year, you would have thought this guy's going to be the breakout player. Like he was so good.
Yes.
And then it all just kind of came tumbling down and he started not seeing the field. He basically barely played in some of those games in the middle of the year. Where were you at with Mekhi?
I feel like for as young as he was, like you're excited still for him. But yeah, some of those, like as the season progressed, he didn't look as good against some of those teams. I still think he's going to be a good player and he can be really impactful for us.
Yeah, I mean, he literally got benched, I think in like the Maryland or Wisconsin game because he was just getting destroyed.
I mean, canned, I guess.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because at the beginning of the year, you would have said unsalted and then maybe even movie theater for a second. And then it was like, what the hell happened? So I would go with unsalted.
I'd probably say canned. I'd probably go canned, sadly. But I think that like...
I'll give you the tiebreaker. You mean boy.
Yeah, I know. I'm mean.
But next one
defense, we gotta be.
Deshaun Singleton. Oh, man. Why did he get hurt?
It's so painful.
Dude,
what a beautiful player.
He was so good when he was on the field. I mean, he's inevitably movie theater. Like, he was a stud. Even in his, 5 games he played? 4 games he played. He got hurt in the Michigan game. He was so good at the start of the year. So to me, it's like, you hope he can come back. And him and Buford being like a duo back there, gonna be so fun to watch. They're so physical. They hit so hard. They're kind of like similar players. And they're in the box. They make plays. And so, I don't know. I think we both agree there. Singleton's a stud. He's all over the field. So fast, so physical. I can't wait to see him next season.
I couldn't agree more. Oh, man.
Oh, Prince Will Uman Milan on the board next. True freshman.
Put him in movie theater. Oh, man. He is so fun. He clearly made some mistakes
early on,
especially in some tackling spots. But, man, as the season progressed, he is so good. He's a heads up player. That's what I was so impressed again.
Yeah, so many times.
It's like, wow, that was really heads up. He read that so well.
He's got just really natural football instincts. And I think we talked about and highlighted multiple times, pass rush and so many things. He just seems so natural out there. And for true freshman, his maturity.
He's so comfortable to be in Big Ten play.
Yeah, his maturity as a freshman on the field was just so impressive. He deserves it wholeheartedly. So another true freshman back to back here, Cam Lenhart. And we talked about both of these guys in the spring game, how they both look so good. And I talked about how Prince Will's first step was so impressive. Cameron Lenhart looked like a physical tackler, and he definitely was. I mean, I wouldn't say he was as good as Prince Will.
No.
But he was still really solid. Unsalted to me, for sure.
He felt more of a freshman at times, especially compared to Prince Will. But yeah, he's good. And I'm excited to see him in the future.
Nick Henrich, next up on the board.
Man,
this was a surprising season. Way better than normal.
Great games. Yeah. And he was really good on the run defense. In a lot of ways. I mean, it's so much better than the years before. I mean, I'd say it's firmly unsalted.
I mean, the coverage is just always the problem with him. So he was so good, tackling and run defense this season, way better than I thought he ever could have been. Someone could argue he could be a movie theater. I mean, this was a season that was surprising, and he had a few really good games. I mean, the Illinois game, the Michigan State game, the Wisconsin game. Even the Michigan game, he wasn't horrible when he was on the field, in the second half especially. I could see an argument for him to be in movie theater, but just because of his pass defense, it's hard to put him there. So I'm okay with him going in unsalted. Phelan Sanford on the board.
Oh, what a legend.
What a stud. I mean, he is the special teams Hall of Famer, the Olympic Hall of Famer. He wins all of the offseason workouts.
When Singleton went down, he had a huge shoes to fill, and he stepped up.
I mean, again, for the situation, you could say he was movie theater. And he was really consistent.
He made some big plays too.
But, man, it's hard to put him in movie theater because we know he's not the same level of player as the guys that are in there right now. But he did play 329 snaps. So where would your instincts put him?
I don't know. I think it's movie theater.
Wow. I mean, he was consistent for sure.
He had some great coverage plays.
My only debate
just thinking
would
of
be,
his name.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but my only debate would be like him or Henrich. Like if he's in movie theater, then I feel like Henrich needs to be movie theater.
No, because Henrich still couldn't tackle. Like Phelan's tackling was way better.
I think it's more about the coverage for Henrich. I mean, his tackling, at least in the run game, was solid.
It was, but it wasn't. I mean, Phelan's was locked down.
Okay, that's fair. We can leave it like this. So up next, a guy who had some of the highest moments of any player in the entire season, but also had some really low moments was Javen Wright. I mean, I don't know where to put him. I mean, his highs were he was one of the best players on our team.
He had some farm fresh. Yeah, he had some farm fresh games. So I feel like you got to put him in movie theater.
But he had some canned corn games.
Yeah.
And he got benched in a few games. Oh man, that's tough.
I would put him in movie theater still.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, overall,
he was the big difference in some of those games where we got wins.
The difference maker impact plays that he had was worthwhile at movie theater. I think I agree. Yeah. Jamari Butler then is on the board, and 359 snaps, really solid throughout the year. I mean, he was never the flashy guy, but he was probably our most consistent player to get to the quarterback throughout the season. Ended up with 7 sacks. See, this is the thing. His highs weren't as high as some of the guys in the movie theater, but his lows were not nearly as low as the guys who were in Unsalted. So that's what makes it tough. Like he never had as bad of a game as Jamari Butler, as Javen Wright had. So to me, honestly, he's probably movie theater.
That's fine. Oh man, MJ Sherman is next. This is definitely a canned.
Yeah.
This is for sure a can. I mean, to play 360 snaps and just really not be that good at all. I mean, he had 1 sack.
That's the thing is like when you compare Jamari to Sherman, it's like that's the difference, right? Like, Jamari was there and he was on the field and he made plays. He made so many plays, unlike Sherman, who just did not. So that is pretty clear to me. Luke Reimer. Ooh,
this is tough. He was so much better at pass rush this year than he had ever been by like a giant margin.
Oh yeah. But so much worse in coverage this year.
Oh, yeah, but really bad in coverage. Yeah, it was very confusing.
Bizarre. It's like the new scheme or something really changed how he played and how he saw the field and where he was good. Because he was genuinely bad in pass coverage this season.
Yeah, but he had 6 sacks.
You probably have to put him in movie theater.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's not ideal.
I don't love it. I'd rather put him in Unsalted.
But the thing is like he again, the impact plays that he had in the run game is like Jamari Butler, Javen, like he had some huge plays.
Yeah.
So for me,
that's fair.
That's where you end up. So John Bullock, definition of unsalted, right?
Yes. Yeah, he had some plays. He did some good things.
But nothing flashy. He was just solid and reliable, decent enough.
Yeah, his 1 sack, I think, was impact.
True. Well, we obviously have our first farm fresh player here, and that is Nash, the polar bear. Absolute unit. I mean, talk about a disruptor, a guy who was all over the field, made plays everywhere. In every single game, he seemed to be there.
So big on the inside for us. That was the reason him and the other guy we're going to mention, I'm sure pretty soon, like just so important for what our defense brought, especially in the run stop. Yeah, Nash was so important.
But I mean, to be fair, obviously it's Ty Robinson. Like Nash versus Ty, that's an interesting conversation, which maybe we can have in a second. But to me, Nash is maybe a tier above.
Yeah. So I think Nash is better. Yeah.
Yeah. Tommy Hill. Oh, baby. He is the story of the defense this season. And he is without a doubt farm fresh. Without a doubt.
This man has gone started from the bottom. Now he's here.
Yeah, dude. Facts. The song was made about him.
It's incredible. He was graded like one of the top 10 like coverage players in the country.
Yeah.
In PFF.
Insane.
That's insane. And he's coming back. And I mean, huge. He made picks. I mean, that was just the difference. Like, not only was he a good corner and great coverage, but he made plays that were game breaking, that were difference making in the games that he played in. I mean, incredible. Just what a season for Tommy Hill. And you're just so excited for a guy who didn't know where he fit, didn't know if we would literally ever see him on the field. And
playing both sides of the ball.
Yeah, wow. I mean,
insane, man.
Tommy Hill.
And like, coming back, this defense is going to be so fun to watch next year. It's going to be crazy. So Malcolm Hartzog up next as well. Definitely not farm fresh.
No. Unsalted. He honestly, he was pretty good in the run defense more than anything. And
yeah,
also,
you're right. Like the plays behind the line of scrimmage where he came up and made tackles.
Yeah. And screen plays, he was good at blowing those up.
Yeah.
Like but he wasn't amazing.
Teams went after him in coverage though. They picked on him.
They did. So that hurts. So I don't think that he was bad. Like, he wasn't bad. It's just in comparison to some of the other corners, like, he just wasn't the same.
Yeah,
it wasn't the same level.
He's tough. He's on the fringe of movie theater and unsalted. He's way better than John Bullock, but like, much less impactful than Prince Will or Jamari Butler, or something like that.
You could talk me into movie theater. For him. He did some good stuff. Agreed.
I have no problem with that. So I guess let's leave him there though. Ty Robinson. I mean, to me, he's for sure movie theater. He had much lower moments than Nash, and he wasn't as effective in some games. Like, Nash's highs were higher, and I think Nash was a little bit more consistent than Ty, especially in the run game. And Ty's always had a tackling problem at times, and he still did this season.
Even this year. Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I'd agree. He's not as good as Nash, but still really important to what we did and made some big plays. So,
okay.
Yeah,
I'm with you. All right, fair enough. So, Omar Brown is on the board, and we know for a fact he is farm fresh. I mean, this man was all over the field.
Impact.
Coverage, run defense, just a unit. I mean, especially in coverage, it's kind of like that coverage safety for us, the blanket. He was so good in that role and fit perfectly into the 3-3-5 here. I mean, there's two other guys left here. Maybe we'll just want to grade them, and then, or do you want to go and make this thing happen?
I'm good with giving it to him. Let's just do it.
All right, let's do it. I mean, without a doubt, this man was the most impactful player for this defense. Omar Brown is the Corny Award winner 2023 on the defensive side, and that's an honor with how good this defense was and how many guys were deserving of this award. It's going to be our biggest farm fresh category of all time in the Corny Award. So Omar Brown, I hope he has the most success in the NFL and finds a home in the league. Quentin Newsome up next, and he's also farm fresh in my opinion, for sure. Just a unit all over the board.
Yeah, teams didn't want to throw to him as much. Again, he played so many snaps, played against really tough guys, really hard assignments.
And his tackling.
His tackling was great, especially in the open field. That's why, again, he's a big reason why teams didn't get a lot of points, even if they did get chunk plays.
Yards per catch so low this year.
Yeah,
one of the best in the country for Nebraska this season. We gave up only 6.1 yards per pass, 8th best in the country.
And that's because Quinn Newsome, Malcolm Hartzog, Omar Brown, all those guys. Yeah, we just shut it down.
Final up here is Isaac Gifford, and of course, the farm fresh category is getting packed. I mean, he is a beast. And again, one of the other Band-Aids, him and Omar Brown back there was just such a nice safety blanket for this defense. And I mean, Gifford's so well-rounded. His game's just all around great.
Yeah, in the beginning of the season, I was a little worried he didn't have some great games. And then it really started to show as the season progressed. Honestly, again, you'd really rather have that in Big Ten play than in those non-con games anyway. I think it took him a little bit longer to kind of just get settled into the 3-3-5, but just another great player. Man, our secondary was so good.
I know, man. And when you look forward, I mean, again, look at the guys who are staying. I mean, we only had one Iowa corn player on this entire defense this year, and this is how good his defense ended up being. And like you look at it and it's like, you're losing Q and you're losing Omar. But like the rest of this defense, the impact players, they're going to be here. This defense is going to be great. And we brought in the transfers, Stephen Thompson and these guys. So like the hype is going to be so real for all these players. And you cannot wait to see what Nash and Ty are going to do with another year together. Oh, man, the hype's real. The hype's real.
I know. Just another offseason of them getting a little bit bigger, faster, stronger, understanding the 3-3-5 better. I mean, again, this was year one for the 3-3-5. Imagine all the more wrinkles that we're going to be able to chuck in and understand.
Kool-Aid.
Again, we threw multiple defense at them. We'll be able to add even more. Again, as the guys progress, we'll be able to do more fun stuff. I know that Tony White's got plenty up his sleeve that he wants to try out, I'm sure. So you can't wait.
And you got the pieces to make it happen too. Like, this is insane.
And now we got our quarterback. It's going to be so exciting.
The Kool-Aid's guzzling. No doubt about it. I mean, again, the spring game, I'm already excited. Drinking. We're still like, 6 weeks out from
April 27th, baby.
10 weeks out from the spring game, but we got, oh man, the hype's real. We appreciate you guys for watching. Drop your comments down below. Where did we get it right? Where did we get it wrong? What's our hottest take? Let us know. And on Patreon, we did a little reacting to Nebraska's final stat placements. So go check that out on Patreon if you want to go hang out with us and go through all of Nebraska's final stats in the season. And kind of closing the yearbook here for 2023, and now we can fully focus on 2024. It's gonna be a fun one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. But as always, I'm Josh, that's Caleb. This has been Big Red Homestead, the Cornies, and we will see you next time. Go Big Red, baby.